So I'm Dr. Justin Andrews, and I'm a chemist. And I think what's really cool about chemistry is that it's so diverse. And so oftentimes people ask me what kind of chemist I am. What do I do? And I like to push back on that a little bit. And I say, well, what do you think a chemist does? And oftentimes they conjure this image of people mixing colorful beakers of liquids, right, together. And you make things go boom and poof and distill things, and there's all kinds of fun glassware, right? And I think what's really cool about chemistry is I don't do any of that. I am a solid state chemist, right? And so what that means is I don't work with liquids, I don't work with gases, I work with what I think we interact with most around us. Rocks, table salt, the food that you eat, the ground that you walk on, the buildings that you see. Solid state chemists had a plan and a hand in doing all of that, from your computer to your phone to your batteries. And so oftentimes what that means is I don't mix things together, I don't do liquids. I react solids at 800 degrees Celsius, 1000 degrees Celsius, 1700 degrees Celsius. Sometimes I use what's called an arc melter, where we send a bolt of lightning through our solids and heat these things up in a fraction of a second to 2000 degrees. And because we need that energy to get solids to interact with each other and to make new compounds. And so more specifically what I do is I make materials, inorganic materials, solids, with a specific purpose in mind. Oftentimes that's batteries and energy storage, hydrogen storage, materials for computers, the things that make your laptops run. I'm designing materials specifically for those applications. And so it's a little bit of a different chemistry vibe than most people think of when they think of chemistry. And I think that's surprising, and I think that's pretty cool to know that you can be a chemist and you can build instruments, you can do food chemistry, you can do organic chemistry, or you can be a solid state chemist. People also often ask me how I got into this field. And so for me, it's a little bit of a roundabout pathway, and I'll share this because I think it's a little different and maybe encouraging in some ways. As a kid, I didn't do a lot of math. I didn't necessarily like math. What I loved was art. I drew, I sang, I built Legos, right? I was a creator in a lot of different ways, more artistic than I was scientific. And I actually went to college specifically to study classics, Latin and Greek, and fell in love with chemistry. And so for me, looking back, I think what really drew my interest to this form of chemistry is creation, right? What I get to do on an everyday basis is I get to go in and I get to say, I want to combine this element with this element, and I want the atoms to sit here, here, and here. And a lot of times it feels like I'm playing Legos and building new things. And I think there's something really cool and exciting about making something that nobody else has ever made before. And I think that's neat. And so if science needs anything, I think what it needs is more creatives. People who can do art and visualize things and just let their imagination run wild, because it isn't just all STEM skills. So if you're interested in being a solid state chemist, I think what really got me hooked on it is that, I tend to, when I get pigeonholed into one thing too much, right, I tend to react kind of negatively to that. And what's great about solid state chemistry is that it's equal parts chemistry, physics, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, because we make things, but we have to use physical chemistry and concepts, X-ray diffraction, synchrotron techniques, to analyze and understand what it is that we've made. And then we get to go into the lab and we get to make devices. We get to make electronics devices that switch on and off. I get to go into the lab and make batteries. And so I get to take materials from the drawing board, on my literal drawing board in my office, and I get to envision it, I get to go into the lab and make it, and then I get to see what it does. And so start to finish, I get to see a material the whole way through that process, and that's probably the most exciting thing about it. So in terms of getting started, if you find yourself equally interested in physics, chemistry, and mathematics, and all of those things together, I think it's the field for you. It's an opportunity to blend all of those things together in a very interdisciplinary way.